Well, welcome to my YouTube channel or our YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Dream Life Actualized. Do you want to introduce yourself, Ethan?
Yeah, my name is Ethan Abroad. My YouTube channel name is Ethan Abroad on YouTube, and I'm working on the Facebook and Instagram and other platforms.
Okay, cool. I just made mine the other day, like the Instagram and the TikTok. I wanted to make sure like I got the name. But yeah, essentially what my channel is about, I highly believe that brothers should be traveling. I highly believe that brothers should be making a full-time income while they travel. And so the way that I want to do that for myself is through digital marketing. And so essentially what you're going to find on my channel is that we're going to be talking about making a full-time income online, digital marketing, and of course, just traveling. I feel like the travel space is missing that mindset of going to these places and setting your roots down and building with your like-minded community. So I kind of want to add that edge to the travel space. What about you, Ethan?
Me personally, I just want to, kind of give, people my share and give you my experience of traveling abroad, getting a remote job, and just kind of like, living life overseas, right? So this give my personal experience.
Cool. So my first question for you, man, is what made you start traveling?
Mostly just trying to get, do something different. That was my first experience, my first reason, do something different and just go out and explore a different country.
Mhm. Okay, cool. I remember for me, it was one of those things where I knew I wanted to travel. Like, when people are young, they always want to say like they want to travel the world and stuff. I didn't want to wait till I was like 50 and 65 to be doing that. And so I was like, okay, well, let me start going to like little trips here. And I have a military brat background. And so I'm used to traveling. But the first like solo trip I took by myself, I want to say I did 30 days in Mexico. And that trip taught me a lot, right? It taught me, first of all, not to travel on a budget. Not, I went there and I was like, yeah, if I'm gonna, I learned I was bougie on that trip. So it's like whenever I travel, I want to make sure that I'm at least like middle class or upper middle class when I go to these places. Because the 30 days in Mexico, it was cool, it was an experience, but it was definitely not something I would do again with that type of budget. But yeah, and once I did that trip, I found out that just as me being a black man, I didn't feel like a monster, and that kind of just like opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I was like, okay, I want to travel a lot more, to see like what else is out there, what other cultures and stuff is out there. So
How much
yeah,
did you end up
it's pretty
spending?
impressive. You said what?
How much did you spend on your trip to Mexico for 30 days?
I couldn't tell you the total price. I will say it was a budget trip. So I want to say a week in Cancun, a week in Tulum, and then 2 weeks in Mexico City. And I
Wow.
think each spot was like maybe like it was less than $200, maybe even a lot less than that. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I just know it was budget. The Cancun trip or the Cancun place, it was literally it was like a small square. Like if you're laying on the bed, if you're looking across right here, there's like the small bathroom, and then the kitchen was right next to it, and then the TV was above it. So it was like really small, But I was like, oh, I'm only here for a week. I'm just traveling. I'll be all right. And it was a dope spot, But as far as like now, I'm looking at staying for places longer than 30 days. It's like that wouldn't cut it for 30 days. So, and then the other places were pretty much the same thing. It was just like it was a budget trip basically. It's like they didn't have like the amenities that a normal place should have, like soft towels or hot water or things of that nature. And so I was like, hey, I'm not doing that anymore.
Wow.
Hmm. What about you? Have you ever did like a budget trip and you were like, yeah, this isn't for me, or are you cool with budgeting like that?
So luckily, first time I actually left the country, or in the last like 10 years, I left to Colombia, and my friend had a Airbnb. It was like a three-bedroom, two baths. So I was lucky for him to have all those things there ready for me. So I didn't really have to pay for rent. I just had to pay for my food and my the plane ticket. I was there for 3 months, so he helped me out a lot to find a remote job, how to move about, and kind of gave me advice on the country. So I was just very fortunate for him.
Oh, shouts out to him. So he was basically like you weren't walking in blind. Like you had like like a somebody on the inside essentially to like give you the
Absolutely.
rundown.
Yep.
Oh, that's dope. So is there a particular reason why you chose Colombia?
I mean, it's because he invited me, right? If he hadn't invited me, I would have probably just not really traveled at all. I would have just stayed in America, work,
Mm,
make my money because I had a lot of things going for me. I was, have my car, have my own place. Everything was just going well for me. I had a bunch of job opportunities, but he was like, "Yo," he kept on. He had like told me for like a whole year because I had met him like a year prior at a hotel that we used to work at, and he was like, "Yo, I'm going to Colombia. I have my job. Get your passport. You know, come out there. I'm set you with a spot. This and that." So I was just like, I wasn't really, taking that to heart. I was just like, just trying to work, make money, pay my bills. Then eventually, about like 8 months, 9 months down the line, I was like, yo, he messaged me again, and I was like, "Yo, it's time for me to get my passport. So let me figure out how to get my passport. Go to USPS. Let me, kind of submit the documents I need to get my passport, and then from there, it's kind of like, yo, I need to sell all my things. Needed to sell my car. Needed to sell, all the things I had because I was like, yo, this is a game changer, right? Because if you can work remotely, and then you won't need all that stuff. So I ended up selling all my things because I was just debating like if I'm going to be there for 3 months, right? Um, I'm going to need why do I have a car loan, right? Because I'm paying a car loan. So I was like, let me get rid of the car, get the extra money, and then kind of be a little bit more free. And that helped out because me selling the car at that time was actually good because that's when like the used car market was up. And when I
mhm.
came back like 3 months later, the used market car market was down. So I ended up, the car was worth like 8,000 when I sold it. When I came back, it was worth like 3,000. So I sold it.
Mm.
Um,
That's interesting. So it's like there wasn't like a defining moment for you. It was basically your friend was like, "Bro, you got to travel. You got to travel. You got to travel." And you're like, "Ah, forget it." And then you just went all in with it, or was it like a moment where you're like, "Oh yeah, this is a game changer"? Because it sounds like it was like once you realized the cost difference, you were like, "Oh, okay, that's the main reason." Or what's up?
it was a little bit of both, right? Because he was just telling me, yo, this is the cost of living. This is what I'm spending right now. Because mind you, at the current spot I was living at, I was, paying about 850, right? He's telling me he's paying like, I think it was like 600 for like a 3 bedroom, 2 baths, right? And he showed me
Mm-hmm.
the, a video of it. I'm like, this is a big spot, and for like 600, that's kind of hard to pass up, right? He kept on telling me, yo, come down here, I'm gonna help you get a remote job, and I was looking for a remote job, right? And things were so stressful. Weather was terrible. You're spending all this money on like gas. This is when the gas was high. Like this is when like inflation was kind of like peaking. Things were getting more expensive. So he was like, "Yo, just come down here, check it out." And I was just at that time, everything he was telling me, I was very motivated to just like leave America. So I was like, "I'm not coming back. If I'm coming back, it's to pick up my equipment for my job, and I'm gonna head right back." So that's what happened.
Mm. I hear that. So like for me, it was one of those things where I've always wanted to learn Spanish, even when I was a young man. I remember when I got a Rosetta Stone, if you remember that. Yeah, I used to have I bought the whole thing and I just didn't take it seriously. And so the first trip to Mexico, I was like, you know what? What's better a way to learn Spanish than to immerse myself in these countries? And so that was always like a one thing that I wanted to do. I've always wanted to travel, like I said earlier. But then when the whole travel space started blowing up with like the videos like Passport Bros and stuff like that, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like when they were started talking about like how the women are and like how beautiful they are in like all these different countries. I was like, okay, the way that they were hyping up these countries, man, like Thailand and Colombia and DR, I was like, okay, I got to see for myself. And I did a 10-day trip at Medellin, and I was like, oh my gosh. Now, again, there was a lot of truths that I had to see for myself and what they were talking about. But once I kind of got over that, for like the whole women aspect, just like you, I kind of seen like the whole like, if you're making American money and you're down here, you could be what lower middle class in the States, but then you could be upper middle class, maybe even higher than that, in these different countries. And so I was like, oh wow. At this point in my life, I was more focused on just like personal development, self improvement, trying to build myself up to be like, just like preparing for ultimately like a family. And so I was like, okay, if I can go to these places and live really cheaply, put my head down and like grind in my business and stuff, that it's like a no-brainer. And then as I did more research on that, I'm looking at how you can buy apartments for like 25,000. And I'm like, what is good? You can buy houses and land for like 80,000. I'm like, that's a dream over here in America. You houses in America, you're starting at, depending on where you live at. If you're trying to live in a good city, like 400,000, you know? And it's like, then you have all these criterias that you have to meet in order to do that. And I just realized in these different countries, it's like, they're a lot more relaxed on that. And I'm like, yo, this is a real opportunity. And then I started looking at other places around the world and I'm like, it's the same thing in these other places. And so yeah, that sparked it for me. It's like, okay. Cause you know, the number one thing that guys they say is like, oh, you're just going for women, you know? And it's like that's something that somebody who is only focused on women would say. You know, if you're focused on like your own quality of life and things of that nature, you'll realize that it's a much better deal outside the states than it is in the states, you know.
Absolutely. That's a big motivating factor. Like it doesn't really make any financial sense to stay in the country if you get a
Mhm.
better way of life and spend less money in another country.
Right. And so as far as like America goes, what is your like your personal feelings when it comes to just, you know, American culture and like where it's going, where it's at right now versus, you know, where it's going? How do you personally feel about that?
Well, I think that things are going to get, people are saying that there's a recession. So dating is not too good in the country. These things are not like all the laws being passed, all the things that they're focusing on right now. It's not, things aren't going too well. So I just can't see things improving.
Mhm. So as far as like the laws, what about like the women and stuff like that? Are you like okay with women or do you see them heading the wrong direction or
Yeah, they're definitely heading in the wrong direction. Right now, I'm just not really focused on that.
Mhm.
I'm not really concerned with what's going on in the country. It doesn't matter to me.
I see that.
So,
The one of the things I say it's like you know America has its or just the West in general it has its flaws but it does have its pros as well. You know, it's just one of those things where as a man, especially as a person who's traveling, you just realize that there's pros and cons to all these different countries. And whatever goals that you have, if there's a pro in this country that has more pros for whatever you got going on, it's like why wouldn't you just relocate there? You know, and I think especially for our how would you say how old you where are you again?
30. What about you?
30. So I'm 28, right? And I think guys at our age, you know, that 25 to maybe about 45 range is we're just kind of focused on, you know, maybe getting a nice active dating life, whether you have a long-term girlfriend or, you know, a couple of women that you're seeing, and just kind of putting your head down and grinding, you know, grinding up some money that way you can build out, you know, a house or maybe just set down some roots, you know, because I right now is like our prime working ages to do that, you know. And so it's like, okay, why would I try to work 10 years to try to afford a $400,000 house when I could save up, let's say 80K and have everything that I've wanted in a different country, you know?
Exactly. It just doesn't make any sense for you to kind of live here. So it's just not logical. You
Mhm.
know. Um, Go ahead. I forgot the question actually.
Oh, I was just talking about the state of America versus like these other places. It's like I learned that it's like the state of America is like I'm seeing like the way they got feminism going, where they got like you said, the laws and the political divide. I'm seeing it amplifying a lot. And it's like I'm not really into it. It's like when I go to these different countries and I'm studying like the social culture and everything, I'm recognizing that like, wait a minute, like they of course these places have problems, right? But they're not major problems that I can't deal with, you know? And it's like if I'm stacking problem versus problem, I'd rather take the problems in these other countries than the problems in the country that I'm in right now.
Exactly. In other countries, there's not really much going on. I mean, America has the same issues, if not worse. It's like Colombia, for example, it's pretty relaxed there. It's not really a crazy problem that can't be fixed. But um, yeah, I would rather take another country's problem over America because everything going on in America is just it just doesn't feel worth the living in this country.
That's right, because it's you gonna say something?
No, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say that's right because it's like that's another thing that you learn is like being raised in America, you're so used to like hustle and bustle and go and like you have to aspire to be all these different things and you have to have a mansion and a Lamborghini and make seven figures and have all these businesses and stuff like that. And it's nice, like especially as a kid because you're full of optimism. So you're like, oh yeah, I can get all this and like da da da. But then the reality sets in, and you're like, oh wait a minute, that wasn't really made for me. It was just made to get me to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week to hopefully taste it, which most people don't. And the thing that I learned when I travel to these different countries, it's like everybody's just kind of chilling. Like they're just relaxed. Like it's not like they don't have these massive goals of trying to like own the world. And it hit me where it's like that's normal. Like that's normal. That's what you're supposed to do as a human being. It's like you're not supposed to. Of course, you have your own goals and stuff, but having the goals that a regular person has of maybe having a family or being a part of their community, having fun and stuff like that, that's not American culture at all. American culture is like every man for himself, dog eat dog, and like try to make as much money as possible and it's like when I go to these different countries, they're just like, what are you doing all this for? And it's like, oh, my family. And it's like you don't need $1 million a month to do that for your family.
Exactly. And people seem a lot happier. That's kind of what I've noticed. Like living in Colombia, people will make less money. They'll live in apartments that are not as good, houses that are not as good, but they'll be a lot more happier. Than people in America
Mhm.
that they're barely making like 30K or 40K a year. But people here are making well above that, and they're just not. They're not as happy. When you walk outside, you just see like people don't seem. People, me catching the train the other day, it just seems like people are just kind of just flowing and just kind of just focus on just trying to work and survive. But in Colombia, people seem to be having more fun. It's more enjoyable to just be and live in Colombia.
Right. That's facts because that's the thing that I've learned when I was in Mexico, right? Was it was one of those things where even though they weren't gonna, and again, this is not all of Mexico because Mexico City, I like to say is just New York City, but in Spanish. But it's one of those things where they're more focused on community. They're more focused on family. So even though if they don't make a lot of money, you can still go outside in Colombia and these different places, and they'll have like a bunch of festivals that other than like food and maybe like small trinkets, they're free. But here it's like we don't focus on that anymore. We don't focus on community. We don't focus on these things. And so it's like when you go outside, it's like the moment you step outside, you have to spend $100, especially if you're trying to do something that has like a festival. There's no way. And I'm realizing that when they're more community focused, it leads to a higher quality of life, not only because the actions that they're taking, but it's just like the what it represents. Like I heard in Colombia, they have like they shut down streets and they're like doing a bunch of salsa dancing. And I was talking to another YouTuber. What was his name? It's like San Chan or something like that. He's also a guy in Cali, Colombia. And he was talking about like there's a street where they close every Friday or every weekend. They just all start salsa dancing. And I know Brazil has like a huge fitness culture where they have like community runs or community bike rides and stuff like that. And I'm like, you can find that here, but at the same time, it's like I don't view it as the same as it has as more of an importance here than it does there.
Absolutely. When I was typing, could you hear my mic or my keyboard?
A little bit. Nothing
Okay.
crazy though.
Yeah,
You
but
might not have like the. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say because I have like one of those like the loud
Mechanicals.
keyboards.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
I
it's
have
like,
one right here. Let me show this off real quick. This is crazy. So I ended up having, my keyboard. I have a keyboard broke. It was like a Logitech gaming keyboard,
mhm.
and then they ended up sending me a replacement. I was like, yo, I don't like the one that you guys gave me, the micro USB, because it was very expensive and it came with micro USB. And I told them like, yo, you guys have to replace it with a Type C keyboard. So they ended up replacing it with this. But I got two keyboards. I got one up there. I got one down there. And this is like $100 keyboard. It's very expensive. But
Oh wow.
when I when I go to Colombia, the other one was like I bought it for 165. So that's the thing about Logitech, right? If you own a Logitech product, and if they don't like, if it doesn't like, meets your requirements and like doesn't, if it breaks within like a 2 year time period, you can call them up and they'll just replace it and
I didn't
with
know
any
that.
keyboard. Yeah, that's why I only really buy Logitechs,
Mhm.
because their products are pricey, but I feel as if their warranty is really good. So I used to have, I got my mouse replaced twice. I had like a $100 mouse and they replaced it like the first one I got, they replaced it because it kind of like broke. But that's good.
Mhm.
Really good company.
Wow. I got the what is it? It's on like the ONN. It's like the very like basic, like I don't know if it's like a generic version, but I got it at Walmart. It was like 20 bucks and I freaking love this. I don't know if I could show it on screen, but it has like the like a LED which you can
Ooh,
change the colors and
that's
stuff.
nice.
And then I
Okay.
don't know if you guys can hear this. I don't want to like jack up my stuff here. I'm gonna just start taping in. Like I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Nah, I can barely hear it. That's a good mic.
Okay. But it's like I love that sound. I didn't know like this was a whole thing. Like keyboard, like people will replace their keys and like all this other stuff. And I'm seeing like
Yeah.
$500 keyboards. And I'm like, is this like a real thing? And people will show off like their different sounds. And I'm like, okay, I can see
Yeah.
why people will spend money on this.
Yeah. I've watched some videos. It's a interesting hobby. Um,
Hmm.
I don't think I'll ever get into it. I actually kind of prefer colognes. Let me show you one of my favorite colognes.
Are you a
I'm actually,
cologne guy?
yeah, this is one of my favorite colognes. It's like it's my
Hmm.
Shoney Toy Boy. I'm actually getting a few more colognes. Like I'm about to order some, but I really like colognes.
So like
My
when you
favorites.
travel when you travel, does the whole thing come with you? Like all of it comes with you, or you just leave it like
Uh,
you grab your
not,
favorites?
not the whole set. 'Cause I think I have like 24 bottles, and I
Damn.
only bought three.
Hmm.
I'm gonna buy three more, but now I've slowed down. So now these days I only buy like three or two, but they're more like higher quality,
Yeah.
right? So now I'm only focused on getting like higher quality colognes. So it might not be like the ones I have in my cart right now, they're like $80, $90, $100. So I'm gonna get those three because they're good, they smell good. That's what I've kind of learned. Like you want to buy good quality stuff when it comes to like your phones, your colognes, your clothes, everything. You just want to buy some good quality things that are gonna last.
Right. I heard there's like a joke where it's like as men, I don't know if it's like after 25 or 28 or something like that. It's like you're either gonna get into colognes, you get into barbecuing, or you get into like cigars or something. Like there's something like as a man you're gonna like focus on and like that's your thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what mine is. Yeah, I like colognes too. My dad was more of a cologne guy, and so he had like the I don't know if you guys know about this. If you're older, you probably do. It's like you go to the flea market and then they have like the little bottles and you like rub it on your wrist or
Oils,
whatever.
they
Yeah.
call those
He
oils.
he was really huge on those. My dad always smelled good, right? And so it was one of those things where it's like, okay, like I have my thing. Like my cologne, I think I got like two, and one of them is like the Dior.
Dior Sauvage.
I don't think it's Sauvage. It's like Dior Homme or something like that.
Oh, Dior
Like the
Home. I
popular one
don't.
is the popular one's like Dior Sauvage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got like it's like Dior Home or something like that. I smelled that like 6, 7 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, I've been getting it ever since. And then once I get the most compliments on it, I'm like, yeah. And then the other one, it's like what's it called? It's called Mankind, but I forgot who created it or who made it. Maybe it was Calvin Klein. I'm not sure. I think it's in my backpack. But yeah, that I like it. I like the smells where it's like I wanna get to the point where because I want to get to the point where it's like the mankind one that I have right now, it's like a little bit on the sweeter side, not too sweet, but it's like a little like a I call it a brunch cologne. Like if you were to brunch like during the late time, stuff like that. But I want to pair it with like a musky, like wooden, because I think it's gonna give it that like it's gonna complete the profile. It's in my head. I don't know if this is like valid things or not, but I think it's gonna work because it's like if I smell like both of these at the same time, it's a really great
You it's about
mix.
it sounds like it's about layering. Like
Is that
layering,
what it's called?
yeah, when you put on more than one cologne,
Hmm.
you're layering them up. They have to have the same base notes for it to make sense. Yeah, if not, it's not going to work.
Okay, what do you mean by
So,
that? So it's like yeah, explain.
so there's different layers of colognes, right? So there's like the base notes, which is like what the base of a cologne is. There's like the mid notes, and then there's like the top notes, right? So it's a little complex. I don't know like the full way of breaking it down. I kind of forgot, But that's how it
Mm-hmm.
works. If you want to layer colognes, they all have to have the same or close to the same base notes,
Mm.
right? That's I
That
believe
makes
that's the foundation of a cologne.
I need to
So
start. I need to start studying that more because, like, when I smell that, if I were to like, and again, this is completely like bro science, but like when I smell my mankind, it feels like it's like high notes. But when I'm looking for like the musky, woody smell, I'm looking for like more of like a bass. You know what I'm saying? So
okay,
it's like, you know what I mean? Because like the Dior one, I don't think I compare that with anything. I'm sure I could, but it's like I don't see myself pairing because it's like a complete like scent, but with the mankind, I was like, if this had like a musky, like wooden undertone, this would be a killer cologne.
I gotta go soon, bro. I'm tired. We can definitely like get something
You're good, bro.
schedule something a little late another day. Right now, I'm kind of
Of,
tired.
of course, man. This is
Um,
a great video. It's definitely going on the page here. Subscribe to Ethan Abroad's channel. If it's more aligned with you, subscribe to me as well, and we'll do more talks like this or reactions or whatever in the near future. So yeah, man, I appreciate your time. We are here coming up on here. If you want to shout yourself out again, you can do that, and then we'll go ahead and end it after that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's Ethan Abroad here. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to his channel. I'm going to be trying to post more content and, go into more in-depth questions and information about, traveling, Colombia, working for yourself in order to kind of, make the proper money that you need in order to like, live abroad and just travel the world. So thank you guys for listening to us. Look forward to more.
Cool. All right, man. I'll tell you later, man. Peace out.
All right, stay safe.